Good afternoon. I think we're live now. Yes, we're live. Good afternoon. My name is Diment and I'm here from Work Safe and Well. And I am a Creative Changemaker, and I'm here today to help you build your own resilience toolkit and instruction to beat burnout. Now, I am a Creative Changemaker, I like to describe myself as, and I help people who are sick and tired of feeling overwhelmed and stressed with their work and help them transform into creative and compassionate and resilient leaders with my Work Safe and Well coaching practice. And I also coach individuals and groups with my Creative Leader EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique practice. And you'll see that I am also a Chartered Fellow of IOSH, one of only 70 female Chartered Fellows in over 50,000 members worldwide. And I also put the PTSD in brackets after my postnominals too, because I've made it my mission to smash the stigma about talking about mental health and dealing with burnout based on my own experiences of dealing with PTSD and mental health challenges over my career. I also use creativity to support my own mental health and well-being, and here's an example of some work I did recently for my foundation diploma. And I just wanted to draw your attention to the words on the speech bubble there, because they are from a survey that I did as part of my project to capture people's experience of how they feel when they're being creative. And this is what I wanted to, one of the tools I'm going to share with you today is how we express how we feel. And I'm really pleased to be here today to support Mind Charity. And it's great that so many speakers at this conference are talking about their own experiences of dealing with mental health challenges and burnout too. So today I'm going to share some tools with you to help you build your own resilience toolkit. And I'm hoping that you can take them away with you and use them in your own workplace and use them in your own well-being as well. So what do I know about burnout and why am I here with you today? So I've already mentioned that I was diagnosed with PTSD. I wasn't diagnosed with PTSD until I was nearly 40. And so I'd suffered over 20 years of mental health challenges, and I can't say I was always supported very well with my work in my workplace. And about 8 years ago, so after my diagnosis, I was in a settled job. I had a happy family home, happy life, and I was thrown into a cycle of caring, finding a new home, because we had to relocate over 500 miles with my young family and deal with a family member who was terminally ill. And that completely threw me as I was thrown into this cycle of caring, resettling my family, trying to find work and trying to continue what I used to be doing, but with all this other stuff going on in my life. And if you throw in 3 house moves, 2 bereavements, a whole load of legal stuff that resulted from the bereavements around an inheritance, and trying to carry on working like that, it was no surprise that I did reach burnout again. And when I went to my GP with my symptoms and got another depression diagnosis, I realised it was time I needed to change. So I had to really rethink how I work, how I live, and really address the symptoms that I was feeling with the PTSD. I wanted to check with you some of these symptoms. How do you feel? Have any of you recognized these symptoms? Imposter syndrome, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling like you can never switch off, overachieving, and avoiding conflict, people pleasing. Quite a lot of those symptoms can lead you to burnout, and that's exactly how I was. And the biggest thing was the constant inner critic, so never feeling good enough, never being able to switch off. And that wasn't only impacting my health, it was also impacting my family and my work relationships as well. So enough about me. What are we going to cover today? I don't know what you've seen today already in the conference, but there's been some amazing talks and some really interesting discussions. The first thing that we're going to do, because you could have been at the conference all day and you could have been just checking in for this session, and we're going to check in and see how you're feeling, because that's what I do with my groups, and I make sure that we check in and see how we're feeling at the start of every session. And then we're going to do a little bit of mindfulness, because stepping out of what you've come from into this session, it's really helpful to stop and be mindful and bring yourself into the present moment. Then we're going to talk about burnout, because that's what we're here today to talk about, and the signs and symptoms and how it can impact us. And because this is an interactive session and it's live, we're going to look at some resilience toolkit tools, and we're going to think about what action steps we can take. So I'd invite you to check that you've got a notepad and paper, and also remind you that there is a chat function and a Q&A function, I believe, in the top right of your screen, and it is anonymous, so you are able to put any questions or any comments in that. They are moderated, so please don't be rude. They are, you'll be able to put something in the chat and ask me any questions, and I'll try and answer them live if I can, because I'm on a different screen to you. Yes, please interact, because that's how you're going to get the most out of this session, and make notes for yourself so you can take action after the session, because I'm hoping some of the tools that we share with you today will be helpful to you and maybe to your colleagues if you are wellbeing leaders. It's all about building a toolkit. So one tool might not be perfect for every situation, but it could help in quite a few others. So we'll check in. How are you feeling right now? It's the first chance for you to interact. So do we do this often enough? Do we check in and see how we're really feeling? Do we think in the morning when we get up, how am I feeling today? Do we think at night, how am I feeling? Do you write it down anywhere? It's a very good practice to do, because it helps you benchmark how you cope with things during the day and how you can set your intentions for the day too. So I'd invite you now, as your first task for this session, to write down in just 3 words how you are feeling today, or how you're feeling right now. You can write them in the chat box, or you can write them in the Q&A box. Let's see how everyone's feeling. You may all be feeling similar things, so fire away. How are you feeling? Can I see the chat box? I can't see the chat. There's nothing in it. Oh, there's something in the chat. Let's see. Okay. So don't be shy. It's all anonymous. You can contribute your feelings. We'll carry on, and I'll get you to think about it. Maybe you're not in a touchy-feely mood today. Let's get straight onto the meditation then. I don't know how many of you tried meditation before. It's a very common practice, and there are many, many, many ways to meditate. So I'm not going to say I know every way. I've tried quite a few of them in the last 10 years through my journey from beating burnout, and different types of meditation are relevant for you at different times. So this is just a short couple of minutes out of this session to start thinking about being more mindful and taking a pause and focus on your breath. So I'd invite you to, if you are sitting in a chair, to put your feet, feel your feet on the ground, sit upright and think about your breath. You may wish to close your eyes. And as you are focusing on your breath, remind yourself that the breath is the one constant you have in your life. It's the first thing that you have when you're born. You take your first breath, and it's the last thing that leaves you when you pass. And whatever you're doing and whatever you're feeling, you always have your breath to come back to. Kristen Neff has talked a lot about being your compassionate friend, and just honour yourself for being here in this session and taking this time to find out ways of looking after yourself and helping beat burnout. And as you breathe in, think about feeling the belly expanding as you breathe in and contracting as you breathe out. You may think about slowing your breath down, so up to 6 seconds for your in-breath and 6 seconds for your out-breath. And by doing this, 6 seconds in and 6 seconds out, we slow down our minds and we tap into our autonomic nervous system, which controls our breathing, our heart rate, our smooth muscle, and lots of other systems. And we allow ourselves that little bit of space. And it sometimes helps as we're breathing in for 6 seconds, and breathing out for 6 seconds, to imagine a big empty space between our eyes. And that helps us to think about having some clear space in our heads, because we talk about being mindful, but actually our minds are quite a lot of the time full. And just this couple of minutes a day, breathing in for 6 seconds and breathing out for 6 seconds, can make us more calm, more relaxed, and actually more productive. And as you breathe in, think about calm, ease, and balance. And as you breathe out, think about letting go of anything you don't want to hold on to anymore. Letting go of tension and stress, and just focus on your breathing. Now we could sit here all afternoon doing this. It's very relaxing and calming, but I'm aware that we only have an hour. So on the next in-breath, just thank and honour yourself for taking this time out for trying the meditation today. And on the next out-breath, if you have your eyes closed, I'd invite you to open your eyes and look around the room and see the first square object that you can see, and that will help you come back into the room. So how are you feeling after that? I've got some of the feelings coming through now in the chat, and some people have shared, so thank you very much for sharing that. I've got people saying they're tired, they're emotional, they're busy, and they're feeling guilty for not dealing with their emails. And I've got some people saying they're just fed up and they're not very happy. So I hope that you can tune into these feelings, and we can help you, support you today to find some tools that can help you deal with those feelings in a safe and supported way. So how did you find that meditation? that was a very quick one. There are lots of ways. I used an app called Insight Timer, and there are 95,000 meditations on that timer. So there are many, many ways to meditate. Okay, so hopefully we're feeling calm, and we'll talk about burnout now, because that's what we're here to talk about today. Burnout is an occupational phenomenon. It's recognised by the World Health Organization as an occupational phenomenon. And this definition here may be familiar to some of you. I've certainly experienced that multiple times in my life. Emotional, physical and mental exhaustion. We've already had people saying that's how they're feeling right now. But of course, by excessive and prolonged exposure to stressful situations and events. Now, the World Health Organization in their International Classification of Diseases lists burnout as an official occupational phenomenon, and their definition is slightly different to the one I've shown on the screen. It's a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. Now, how do you feel about that definition? Chronic workplace stress that's not been successfully managed. Well, that takes the onus on the individual, and actually back to the workplace. And here's some of the symptoms that you may feel: overwhelmed, emotionally drained, unable to meet constant demands. And that can spill over into your home life as well, if you're feeling burnt out. And it's very distinct from stress. Stress is a natural reaction to a challenge or feeling in danger, and we all feel stress at some point. Burnout is prolonged and chronic exposure to stress that isn't successfully managed. So it's okay to feel stress to a certain degree, but chronic exposure to stress and unmanaged exposure to stress is what causes burnout. And it's killing us. Burnout is killing us. It's killing too many people. I did some research, obviously, to make sure that I've got my references up to date for this presentation. And I found this paper. I've been dealing with mental health and stress management for over 20 years as a health and safety management consultant. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is that we deal with this. This research paper by authors from the World Health Organization and the International Labour Organization really, it actually shocked me. And I don't know why it shocked me, because I've been doing this for so long and I know the impacts of stress and mental health challenges on people and how it impacts their life. But does that figure really shock you? 750,000 people globally die each year due to overwork, stress caused by overwork. This paper looks at the incidence of heart disease and stroke due to long working hours and overwork. And they also calculated that there are 23.3 million disability adjusted life years lost as a result from stress-related heart disease and stroke. That's phenomenal. They found that overwork was the single largest risk factor for occupational disease, accounting for a third of the burden of disease related to work. And to put this into context, that's more people that die each year from malaria in the world. So this is a global epidemic that we need to deal with. And why aren't we doing something to change this always on culture? You know, why is this not taken more seriously? Oh, excuse me. There we go. So since the 1970s, Professor Christina Maslach, who's a professor at the University of California, Berkeley, has been doing research, pioneering research on burnout, and she did a key study called The Future of Burnout, and where her teams identified 3 major types of burnout. And I've already said that burnout is an occupational phenomenon and we need to take the stigma away from individuals. But these 3 types could resonate with you. So I just wonder if any of you have experienced either of these 3 types of burnout. Feel free to put it in the chat. I've already said I've suffered from individual burnout. I've had all the other 2 as well, so I've done them all. I've done all 3. So which ones have you had? So you see we've got anything in common. So individual burnouts: too much self-criticism, negative self-talk, anxiety and perfectionism. Interpersonal burnouts: yes, we've all experienced that difficult co-worker or difficult relationship with senior leaders. And also difficulties at home, you know, relationship difficulties at home if you're dealing with building up families or you know, personal relationships. You know, that can spill over into your work life. If you're already stressed, then you bring that into your work, so you know it can impact you. And organisational burnout: poor organisation, extreme demands. We've got somebody saying interpersonal burnout here. So yeah, so you know, and the thing is, when people suffer these types of burnout, the solution that most workplaces come up with is to make that person leave or retire them on the grounds of ill health, because it's they say the individual is the issue, not the workplace. And yeah, so obviously these descriptions do resonate with you, because everyone is quite a lot of people are experiencing this right now. Do any of these descriptions resonate with you? This is what some of my clients come to me with: feeling overwhelmed, feeling exhausted, too many changes in the workplace, guilt about not spending time with your family, struggling to work with challenging work issues. I was having a chat with somebody from the clergy last week, and they have a real big issue with burnout in the clergy, because they're never allowed to switch off. They don't get Sundays off, and they're always available to people to deal with their problems and very challenging issues. And unless they're properly supervised and given enough rest, they burn out very quickly. And a lot of the time it's down to resources. There's not enough people to cover for people to take time off. And obviously COVID has impacted many people in the last 12 months, and concerns about work, money, losing your job, isolation, loneliness, working from home, not having the right boundaries, work-life boundaries from working from home, and also being isolated from your team. These can all lead to burnout. And we should be familiar with this if we're working in the field of health and safety and well-being. Abraham Maslow, 1943, published this theory of human hierarchy of needs. And in his 1954 book, The Motivation of Personality, he argued that for individuals to thrive and excel, they had to have a health fostering culture, which had these requirements. So our basic needs for feeling safe and having food, shelter, warmth and rest. This isn't even being met in our country. How many people are using food banks who are working? That's our basic physiological needs that are in danger, even though people are working. So how is that going to impact on their psychological well-being? But when we feel safe and we have all our physiological needs met, we need to have our needs met in terms of feeling like we belong and feeling like our thoughts and feelings are valued. And then we need to obviously feel that we are contributing and we are being stimulated creatively as well and achieving our potential. So these needs are all essential for our psychological well-being. So I've said we need to drop the stigma. Burnout is not caused by a weakness in an individual. It can happen to anyone, and it's very much, as I said, an occupational phenomenon. So, excuse me, I'm just going to adjust my screen because I can't see. Okay, that's better. So workplace factors. Christina Maslach's team identified these 6 work-related factors that contribute to burnout. And I'd like to read a little quote from a burnout journal that I found in my research, and I'd like to invite your comments on this kind of thing, because yeah, I think we need to talk about this. And this is a very good conversation starter about burnout. Highly stressful workplaces are often poorly designed, socially toxic and exploitative environments. Why should such workplaces be given a free pass when they are the sources of stress, whilst their inhabitants have been told that burnout is their own personal problem and responsibility? Any thoughts on that? If we were in a room, I'd really love to hear people's comments and the reactions to that, because there are many organisations who are leading the way in dealing with health and safety, and I sit on an international health and safety award judging panel, so I see what brilliant work people are doing. But in terms of managing psychosocial risk and burnout, many organisations fall far short. So it's easier, if somebody is suffering the effects of burnout and stress, to give them early retirement and or try them on the grounds of ill health, or just simply let them go, because that doesn't deal with the problem, does it? So those 6 key workplace factors may be very familiar if you have dealt with wellbeing at work, because they map very nicely onto the HSE management standards for stress. I said I sit on an international health and safety award panel, and we have a little Dragon's Den style interview session for the finalists for the award that we judge. And my killer question for the CEOs of the organisations that come to present their wonderful work is, how do you implement the management standards? I don't say management standards for stress, I just say, how do you implement the HSE management standards? And it's very interesting to see organisations who have excelled in many areas of health and safety and got fantastic health and safety management systems who don't actually understand what that means, which either reflects on the connectedness of the CEO, or it reflects on how the stress management standards are implemented in that organisation. So, requirements to risk assess psychosocial risk factors, and these are the 6 areas you need to risk assess. I'd love to see you to tell me in the comments section just a simple yes or no. Is this being done in your workplace? Stress risk assessments. Have you done one for yourself? Have you done one for your team? Have you done one for your organisation? And have the control measures been implemented effectively? Can't wait to see the chat on this. Let's see. Don't be shy. It's anonymous. Nobody's going to go back and tell your workplace. Are you doing adequate stress risk assessments in your workplace? The joys of Zoom and interactive presentations. Oh, yes, no. Oh, here we go. Yes, no, yes, 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 no, no. It's predominantly no's, I'm afraid, which isn't a surprise. But this is kind of statutory requirement to do this. It's a psychosocial risk, and it should be assessed. So this is where we start dealing with burnout. Do your risk assessments. So if we did, okay, so I think I might read this comment out. I don't know who wrote it, I was just anonymous, but I'll just read this quote out because I think it's very important that we share these stories, because until we share these stories, we're not going to tackle this issue. My manager once told me it was my own problem. She told me it was a nice to have and not a necessity, and she couldn't make people like me. I returned to work I hope I'm not going to trigger anyone with this. I returned to work after losing a pregnancy quite early on, so it was quite a traumatic experience. This is when I was working in scientific research. I was a scientist before, I was health and safety manager, and I returned to work after having a breakdown. I had a breakdown after losing a pregnancy, because obviously I didn't know at the time my PTSD was involved with that. And I was told by my work boss, it's your own fault, you take too much on. And that was the return to work interview. And that's how I was dealt with. So shortly after that, I did move into health and safety, and I've made it my mission, as I said, to smash the stigma about mental health and stop people from getting treated like that. Oh, some really good examples coming through. Organisation incredibly rigorous when it comes to assessing stress. Yeah, so there are some good news stories too. So there's a good balance there. There are some organisations who are doing it well and some aren't. So if organisations are doing this well, we should be able to tackle interpersonal burnout and organisational burnout, because the risk factors will be identified, and hopefully control measures were put in place. And to a certain extent, the individual burnout could be identified, because if an individual is seen to be stressed or is being stressed, they could maybe have some support to help them with this negative self-talk and perfectionism as well. So let's talk about how we deal with burnout on an individual basis. I probably don't need to show you this, but here are some of the effects of chronic stress. When it's enduring, it can affect every organ and system and organ in our body. And I urge you, if you haven't already, to look at Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Holds a Score, because that shows you the physical impact of stress and trauma on the body. And yes, it is stored in the body, and we have to release it in some way. If you see a gazelle or an antelope who's been chased by a predator on television and they escape, what's the first thing they do? They physically shake and shudder and think that that's them getting rid of that stress response from their body and just move on. Whereas we tend to store it and then keep reliving it over and over again. So let's get onto the tools now. How do we beat burnout? Well, we have to start, as Louise Hay said, by seeing the dirt. And we've just obviously shown in some of the comments here, yes, we are experiencing burnout. Yes, we do experience stress. Yes, we are feeling stressed and overwhelmed and guilty. And yes, our organisation may or may not be dealing with it effectively. Louise Hay, inspirational story. She started Hay House when publishing in her 50s, and phenomenally successful. If you ever read a self-help book, it's probably been published by Hay House. So start recognising burnout. We have to start what is causing us to be stressed and burnt out. Why is it causing us to be stressed and burnt out, and how are we going to think about dealing with it? Tool number one, well, I've already done meditation, so that kind of is a tool. Be more selfish. Self-care isn't selfish. A lot of us feel guilty about taking time out, having a rest, reading a book, going for a walk because we're not working or we're not looking after our families or we're not doing something we shoulda, coulda, woulda. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. We have the should. Self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for well-being. And I invite you to think about how you can be kinder to yourself, especially when you're facing a challenge, because often the challenge or the trauma or the stress, yes, it can harm us, but our response to it is far more damaging than the actual initial trigger. And we need to think about how we respond to things and be our own compassionate friend, as Christina says. So if we're beating ourselves up about not completing a work task or not doing things the way they should be done, how would we respond if a friend was saying that in a compassionate and kind way? think about trying to treat yourself like that too. Any examples of that you might think? No? So, toolkit number 2. Do an energy audit. Health and safety. I've done many audits over my time. Not on energy, I'm afraid, but on many other things. Biological safety, chemical, radiation safety. Some people do stress audits too. So do an energy audit, or your own personal energy audit. Imagine you start the day with £100 in your energy account, and for everything that energizes you and makes you feel good and happy, give yourself an extra £1. For everything that drains your energy or makes you feel stressed, take away £1. So this could be physical activities, so exercise energizes us. Commuting or physical tasks at work may drain you of energy. Emotional, there's always one person who's the energy vampire. As soon as they walk in the room, immediately your mood goes down because they just seem to suck all the energy out of you. And some people energize you. You may have care and responsibilities, you may have difficult relationships, things like that, and things may make you happy, like watching a movie or having a laugh about something. The mental energy tasks, so things that require focus, concentration. If you're looking at screens all day, if you're looking at spreadsheets, if you have to concentrate, if you're concerned about making mistakes, it's a very safety critical role. Those sort of things drain your energy, whereas some things stimulate your brain, like playing music or other things that actually make your brain active and engaged. And finally, the motivational tasks, so things that actually make you feel valued, things that make you feel like you want to do something, engaged, or things that actually make you feel demotivated, drain your energy. So being criticized, or not feeling like actually your contribution is doing anything to make a change, or having different values to your organization. That's a big one. Cognitive dissonance can actually really impact your energy levels. So there's a free download on my website about this if you want to try it, but it's really easy to do. Just think about that and record it over a certain time period and seeing where your energy levels go. Once you can identify the things that are actually draining your energy, you can start thinking about doing more energy gainers to get yourself back in balance. It's all about balance. Toolkit number 3. We're whizzing through them now, aren't we? So I hope you're writing all this down. Taming your stress triggers. Again, I've got a download available on my website for this. I've already mentioned that sometimes it's not the actual stress trigger or the traumatic situation that actually does the most harm. It's how we respond to it, and really identifying where you get stressed and what triggers your stress response can help you start to change how you respond. So it could be getting stuck in traffic, it could be the commute, it could be dealing with difficult people. But identifying it is the key to changing how you respond. And so there's lots of information on the download. We've got some comments coming through here. Thanks very much for that. That's really good. Thank you for your contributions, everyone. Let me just go back to the next one. Now, our stress response is ruled by our amygdala. And as I said, I'm an artist and creative person. So instead of going lots of slides, I thought I'd just do a little poem. So I'm hoping this will actually explain what the amygdala does. And basically, remember that this thing in your head is switched on, and we can affect how we respond by tuning down that response. Chance to read that? Tiny little peanut shaped thing in your head can actually really have a big impact on your physical and mental health. So the final tool that I'm going to share with you is EFT. I've mentioned I'm an EFT practitioner, and apparently even Prince Harry's recently tried it, so it can't be that bad. It's a practical mind-body therapy, and it can be delivered by anyone at any time. It's basically acupuncture without the needles. So we're tapping on our acupressure points. And if you think about it, we do this automatically, because if you're stressed or something about it, what's the first thing we do? Put our hands through our hair, touch our hair, face, think like this. This is an acupressure point. Oh, you know, we do tap on these points. We've got acupressure points all around our face and body, and we tap on these whilst repeating phrases or recalling memories. And it's been recognised by NICE as combined somatic and cognitive therapy to be effective for use of PTSD and trauma. And studies have found that just 1 hour of EFT can reduce our cortisol levels by 24%. So how does it work? Well, I've told you about the amygdala poem, and it gets triggered when we're stressed. And it can become automatic. So you could be stressed by something or traumatized by something, and then even just a smell or a reminder of that event or memory can actually trigger that stress response without you even thinking about it. It becomes automatic, and it can actually influence our behaviours and our thoughts and our feelings, and actually can really affect our life. I had a client, an EFT client, who had a phobia of fish, and she didn't know where it come from, and we worked on it for a few sessions, and she couldn't even go to the supermarket without walking past the fish counter. She couldn't walk past the fish counter in the supermarket. She had to go all the way around, and this impacted her life because she was about to go on honeymoon, and she was afraid of going in the sea. You know, she couldn't go on honeymoon to the seaside. So we worked on it and we cleared it, and she had a lovely honeymoon, and she was paddling in the sea without any bother, but she cleared this fish phobia. But it's just automatic response, something she didn't even understand why. And obviously it can dampen our memory, it can affect our ability to problem solve. And so tapping can reduce stress and anxiety, so you can tune down our amygdala response, and it can help reconsolidate and reframe memories, because we can combine it with EMDR, the eye movement desensitization and reprocessing technique as well. So it's a very useful technique. And there's been lots of studies, I know lots of research studies on this. Dr. Peter Stapleton is a psychologist at Bond University in Australia, and she has done loads of research on this. And her TEDx talk, I recommend you read, listen to it, 16 minutes, and it just explains it perfectly. She's used it a lot for food cravings, but she's expanded out into other areas as well. It's been used by on American Army veterans, and in just 6 sessions, it has been shown to eliminate their symptoms of PTSD, and even in their spouses who had PTSD from living with the Army veterans, it has helped them too. Lots of places you can look at research on it. So when I ask you how you're feeling, there are lots of ways to describe how we're feeling, and an English teacher, Caitlin Robb, created this wheel and showed that all the feelings that we feel can be distilled down into a few core emotions. And it's really important to show that it's okay to feel fear, it's okay to feel anger, it's okay to feel sad. It's the first start, as I said, in dealing with it. And using EFT, we can safely explore those feelings and deal with them and process them. Because when we are in fight, flight, freeze mode, I find it difficult to say that. When we're in fight, flight, freeze mode, we can get stuck like in a washing cycle. We can get stuck in that, and we can't, because we haven't actually dealt with those emotions that result from the event that caused those feelings. And until we can actually process those feelings, we can't actually release and let go of the emotional response to that event. So let's tap. So here are the tapping points. Yeah, I've just been asked to share the link for the free downloadable book. Okay, I'll share that. I'll just share that at the end. Let me just go back to that slide. So I'll share it at the end, because I'll lose my flow. So let's tap. So I've shown you the tapping points here, and we're going to just tap on the side of our hand and around the face and under the chest, under the arm. And I'm going to do a little stress releasing tapping routine, just something that you can do at the start of each day. Excuse me, I've got it in front of me here because I wanted to make sure I had it with me. So what you do is you just tap. Nobody can see you because you're in your own space at the moment. It's not like we're in a conference hall or anything and everyone can see you and you feel embarrassed. So just do it and just go with the flow and let me know how you feel. If you've done tapping before, let me know. If you haven't done tapping before and found it quite interesting, let me know. So it's a bit like Simon says. So I say it and you copy and repeat after me. Okay. So let's do this. So we rub our hands together and just get ourselves calm. And we'll start by tapping on the side of our hand. And you can do this every morning to let go of stress and create a habit each day. And I'm going to just do this little routine about feeling overwhelmed and stressed. If you're not feeling overwhelmed with stress, that's fine. Just go with it and see. You can do whatever you're feeling at the moment. Okay. So we start on the side of the hand, the fleshy bit at the side of the hand, and we just gently tap. Doesn't matter which hand. And we say, even though I may be feeling overwhelmed and stressed today, I accept myself and how I feel. So this is accepting how you feel that we've been talking about. We repeat this a few times. Even though I may be feeling overwhelmed and stressed today, I accept myself and how I feel. And once more, even though I may be feeling overwhelmed and stressed today, I accept myself and how I feel. Then we move to the eyebrow. Just thinking about getting through this day makes me feel stressed. Inside of the eye, just gently here, not on the eyebrow, on the side. There's so much for me to do. And under the eye, side of glasses, so much for me to worry about. Under the nose, all these things I'm worried about. Under the chin, I feel it, stress and tension in my body. And it might be worth thinking about where you feel that stress and tension in your body and really tune into that. On the collarbone, just so where the collarbones meet, I don't feel safe or able to relax. And then I go under the arm. I can't relax when I've got all these things to worry about. On top of the head, too many worries and responsibilities. That was quite nice, isn't it? On top of the head. Just enjoying that. With all these worries, I struggle to feel calm and safe. Inside of the eye, it's hard to feel calm and relaxed when I feel that I haven't finished everything. Under the eye, I can't relax until I get everything done. If I don't worry and stress about it, it means I don't really care much about what I need to do. If I don't panic, it won't get done right. If I'm not stressed, it means I'm not working hard enough to get things done. Is this really true? This is where we ask the question and we actually start thinking about ways of solving a problem. Are these beliefs really true? Maybe I picked them up somewhere and I've never questioned them before. All these beliefs around stress. I could give them a name. Bit of fun there. You can give it a name. I call mine Patricia. I don't know why, but giving it a name sort of takes it away from it being you. I can give them a name and I can let them go and thank them for keeping me safe. All these beliefs that have caused me to hold on to this stress and tension and worry. I acknowledge them now and say thank you and goodbye. All these worries about today, I can choose to let them go. I always have a choice and I can choose how I feel and let go of these worries right now. Okay, so that was a very simple tapping routine and it can be adapted to however the client wants and however you're feeling. And it's really good to tap in a group as well because you do get borrowing benefits. Again, I need to check in how you're feeling. When we do tapping, we ask how the client's feeling on a scale of 1 to 10 about the issue they're trying to resolve. And then we ask again how they feel afterwards. And it's called subjective units of distress. And that's how we benchmark and monitor. So We've identified what might be causing us stress, and we've identified tools we can do to deal with it. So the next thing to do is to make new habits. This picture is by artist Richard Long. I have to get art into everything I do. And it's called Line in the Grass. And it's a very good way to tell you how to make a new habit. You have to repeatedly do the same thing and practice. You have to do it over again. So if you don't, it doesn't always work the first time, but with repeated practice, just like meditation and playing an instrument or doing anything, you help to consolidate that and actually make it a habit. Sorry about that, I was a bit trigger happy there. So there's science behind this, because when we think a thought, it causes a neural pathway. It's a signal in our brain. Yeah, thought is just a series of electrical signals in our brain. That's what a thought is. And neuroplasticity has been recently discovered, and literally, as Dan Siegel describes it, our mind can use the brain to create itself. Eric Kandel won the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2000 because of his work here on passing electrical signals through the brain, through neurons, and showing that they actually can form new neural pathways by repeated stimulation. So think about it. We're ruminating and thinking negative thoughts. They literally become hardwired into our brain. So these thoughts and beliefs become hardwired into our brain. So if we want to challenge those, like the line in the grass, we may have to spend a little bit of time and use tools like EFT and other tools as well to actually try and unpick those and form new habits and new pathways and new thoughts and beliefs. So we always have the power to do that. And this poem is something I'd like to share with you as I end this presentation. And it really says a lot about the choices we have. We can always choose to change, no matter what we've done in the past or not matter what we're doing right now. We always have a choice to change. Every moment is a new moment, and we can change, and we can break the burnout cycle. Final tool, if you're feeling stressed or anxious, a really simple tool. I said you always have your breath, you always have your senses as well, and we forget to use all of our senses sometimes. And a simple tool, if you're feeling a panic attack or feeling anxious or stressed about something, is just to tune in and use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things you can see around you, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell, or 1 thing you can taste. When you're stressed, it's like your mouth dries up. Just thinking about the last thing you ate or the last thing you drank, and the taste of that, saving that taste in your mouth, can actually help bring you back into the present moment. And all these tools are about taking us out of this fear zone, the comfort zone, sorry, into through the fear zones, so overcoming the fear of change, overcoming the fear of not getting things right, overcoming the fear of the unknown, and actually learning and growing from the challenges that we face. Post-traumatic growth, it's really actually so many people have gone on to do so many wonderful things, and actually their lives have changed for the better after experiencing a traumatic event. So, you know, it is really important that we are resilient and we can actually learn from all these challenges that we've been facing. One of the things I do to connect with my community and to do something outside of work is run an Action for Happiness group. We do the 10 Keys for Happier Living by psychologist Vanessa King, and every month we share these wonderful calendars and discuss them. So as an action point, as we end this presentation, I'd invite you to pick a number on this chart, this calendar, to try out this month to bring more joy and focus on the more happy and the happier and more positive emotions that you can experience. So pick a number and commit now to trying one of these this month. Share if you want in the chat. That'd be really helpful to see that everyone's committing to this. And the Action for Happiness groups are global, and we run them worldwide, and we all share the same content, and we run these discussion groups every month. It's brilliant. Have you had a chance to look at that? I can share this afterwards if you want. It's available from the Action for Happiness website, a different calendar every month. So what action are you going to take to use the tool shown today? Which tool did you like? Which tool do you think you could use for yourself and in your own workplace? And how do you think it might help you? So please, again, share in the chat if you want to, write it down and be accountable and take action. Thank you for listening. I hope it's been helpful. There are many more tools, but those are my favourites that I use quite a lot. And art and creativity is my #1 go-to tool, and that's for another talk. Yeah, so thanks for listening. Now go build your own resilience toolkit. If you want more information, come and see me at Work Safe and Well, and you can join our Beat Burnout group on the Facebook group here. So I was asked to share the Peter Stapleton book. It's not a free book, Peter Stapleton book, but it's there are free resources on EFT Universe website. So let me, oh, no, here we go. So that's Dr. Peter Stapleton's book, and the TEDx talk is there. And there are lots of resources available on the EFT International website, the Tapping Solution, and those two bottom links are research papers showing the effectiveness of EFT. So I hope that you found this useful today. And I'd love to see, next time I'm judging this Health and Safety Award, I'd like to see more people knowing what the HSE management standards for stress are. And when the new presentation comes, new ISO standard comes out, I hope that it has impact as well.